What if your next car could drive 500 miles on a single charge and recharge faster than your phone? Sounds like science fiction, right? Here's the funny part. The thing stopping EVs wasn't magic or rocket science. It was something tiny and nasty growing inside the battery. Think of sharp little icicles stabbing through the battery every time you charge it. Those dendrites don't just slow your car down. They can wreck the battery, or worse, make it dangerous. Well, scientists may have just pulled it off, and the truth behind it might change everything you think you know about electric cars. Electric cars promise a cleaner, greener future. But are they really the answer, or just a shiny detour on the road to sustainable driving? Today we're looking at electric vehicles, EVs, from all sides, and what science says might surprise you. Instead of assuming EVs are the solution, we ask, are they truly sustainable, practical, and better than gas cars long-term? We'll look beyond marketing, considering cost, production impact, and infrastructure along with breakthroughs, but also the lesser-discussed downsides like material sourcing, charging grid demands, and whether green always equals good. Hey there, tech enthusiasts. Welcome to NotSoTechie. We're dedicated to exploring the latest and greatest in technology and scientific breakthroughs. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button for us. All right, let's jump into it. For a century, gas cars dominated. They're powerful, convenient, and polluting. The belief is simple. Electric cars must be the greener alternative, right? Here's the twist. EVs solve some problems, but create others, like mining rare metals, expensive batteries, and pressure on the power grid. And yet, science is now producing breakthroughs that could remove the biggest roadblocks holding EVs back. Researchers at KAIST and LG Energy Solution recently revealed a way to make lithium-metal batteries safer, longer-lasting, and far more powerful, potentially hitting 500 miles per charge and charging in 12 minutes. That's huge. Picture this. You're on a road trip, running low on juice. Instead of hunting for a charging station and waiting forever, you pull over, grab a coffee, and by the time you're done, boom, your car's charged and ready. That's the kind of shift this research is pointing to. So let's explore this with open eyes. The challenges, the breakthrough, and the pros and cons of where green cars might really take us. EV owners worry about running out of charge. Range anxiety is real. Today's lithium-ion batteries are limited in energy storage and charging speed. Add to that, the mining of lithium, cobalt, and nickel comes with environmental costs of its own. EVs may reduce tailpipe emissions, but their production isn't footprint-free. So why do scientists still believe EVs are worth pursuing? Because breakthroughs are shifting that equation fast. Lithium-metal batteries have always been like the ultimate battery dream. Tons of energy packed inside, way more than the lithium-ion batteries we use now. The problem? Dendrites. These sharp dendrites start growing on the anode when you charge the battery, and over time, they can pierce through the battery and cause short circuits, or worse, fires. That's why, until now, lithium-metal batteries sounded amazing on paper but never made it past the lab. Here's where the new research flips the script. A team at KAIST and LG Energy Solution figured out the root cause. When you charge, lithium doesn't spread out evenly. It clumps in certain spots, and those clumps are where dendrites start. Their solution is a brand new liquid electrolyte that changes the way lithium lays down. Instead of messy piles that grow spikes, the lithium forms a nice, smooth layer across the surface. Think of it like pouring concrete. If the mix is wrong, it sets unevenly and cracks. But with the right formula, it hardens into a perfectly flat slab. This new electrolyte is that better formula. It keeps the lithium flat, strong, and safe, even under rapid charging. In simple terms, that means batteries that last longer, charge quicker, and travel farther. Imagine cross-country trips with only a couple of short charging breaks. But let's not ignore the fine print. Just because it works in the lab doesn't mean it's ready for your driveway. Let's start with the exciting part, the wins that make this breakthrough feel like a game changer. First up, performance. Powering an electric vehicle for up to 500 miles, or 800 kilometers, on a single charge. Recharging in just 12 minutes. Lab tests showed the battery charging from 5% to 70% in 12 minutes, a speed it maintained over 350 cycles. Second, lifespan. Achieving a battery lifespan of over 186,000 miles, or 300,000 kilometers. You'll probably replace your car before you replace the battery. That's less waste in landfills and more savings in your wallet. And then safety. Remember those nasty dendrites we talked about? This new electrolyte keeps them in check, which means your battery isn't just more powerful, it's also way more reliable. But here's the speed bump. Even the best battery can outrun some big challenges. Number 1, cost. Cutting-edge tech always has a premium price tag. Early versions of these batteries are going to be expensive, so don't expect them in budget EVs right away. Number 2, timing. Just because it works in the lab doesn't mean it's ready for the dealership. We're still talking years before mass production. And then there's the big elephant in the room, the infrastructure. Even with batteries that charge in minutes, the grid itself faces a huge test. Imagine every EV owner plugging in at the same time. Your power network would feel like a rush hour traffic jam, but on electricity. Building fast chargers is just one part. We also need smarter grids and renewable energy to actually keep up with the demand. Finally, sustainability. Mining for lithium and recycling old batteries remain unsolved issues. EV adoption isn't uniform across the world. In developed nations, charging stations and incentives make switching easier. But in many developing regions, limited infrastructure and higher costs mean EVs remain largely out of reach. The global shift to green driving is happening, but it's uneven, and the road ahead looks very different depending on where you live. Okay, so we've looked at the pros and cons of today's EVs. But what about the road ahead? Electric isn't the only game in town. Hydrogen cars. Imagine refueling in minutes, just like gas. But instead of CO2, you're only releasing water vapor. Hydrogen cars are already rolling in Japan and California. But making clean hydrogen at scale is the real hurdle. Synthetic fuels. Picture keeping your regular car, but running it on eco-friendly fuel made from captured carbon. Porsche is already experimenting with this. Could it be the bridge between today's engines and tomorrow's clean tech? And then there's the holy grail, solid-state batteries. Smaller, safer, faster to charge, and packing way more energy. If they go mainstream, the entire EV debate could flip overnight. Hydrogen sounds incredible. Fast refueling and clean water vapor exhaust. But producing enough green hydrogen is still expensive and energy-hungry. Synthetic fuels could be a lifesaver for existing cars, letting us reuse today's engines without scrapping them. But scaling production to power millions of vehicles is a massive challenge. And then there's solid-state batteries, the so-called holy grail, compact, safe, and lightning-fast to charge. But so far, their success has lived mostly in the lab. Each of these futures has its own promise and its own pitfalls. In other words, the race for the future of green cars isn't just about picking a winner today. It's about which of these technologies can break through first and reshape what we drive tomorrow. Here's the bigger truth. No single solution is perfect. EVs are a massive step forward in reducing oil dependency and cutting emissions, but they're part of a broader puzzle: renewable energy, smarter grids, and new materials. Green cars are not about perfect versus broken. They're about progress in motion. So, are electric cars the future? The science says they're getting closer every day, with batteries that could erase range anxiety and charge in the time it takes to grab a snack. Remember, green cars aren't the same everywhere. In some countries, charging stations and incentives make switching easier. In others, limited infrastructure and higher costs mean EVs are still largely out of reach. The key is to stay informed. Don't just chase headlines, ask, what's the science, what's the cost, and what does this really mean for me and the planet? Would you switch to an EV if it had 500 miles of range and a 12-minute charge, even knowing the trade-offs? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if this gave you a fresh perspective, hit that like button, subscribe to NotSoTechie for more truth-seeking tech deep dives, and share this with a friend who still swears gas cars will never die. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.